Hello viewers, in this session I will discuss about simple input and output operations in C++. As you may know, a computer is a data storage and processing machine. The data has to be provided as input to the computer. It has to be stored in the computer in the interim. Then the data has to be provided as output to a suitable device. Normally, the data is input from the keyboard. It is then output to the display screen. Of course, there are other input and output devices, but for now we will keep things simple. Let us see how input is accepted by a computer in C++ and how data is output to the screen. Now let us go to the desktop of this computer and open the CodeBlocks IDE. I will create a new project here in console applications. Of course, I will select C++ and I will call this project input output because that is what we are going to discuss. The GNU GCC compiler is ready for us. Here we have the project created input output. I will click on the plus sign on the sources and double click on the main. You can see here. This is what we did in the first session. You can see here the hello world string. This is called the string because it is appearing in double quotes, and as I had already explained, I will build here. There are no errors and I will run this output. Okay, the hello world is printed as such on the screen. So my point is that whatever is there in the string, it is printed on screen as such. So suppose I want to type or send a number to the screen. All I have to do is to type that number within the string. Of course, build and run. As you can see here, that numerical value is printed on the screen. So what shall we do if we want to store this value 1 within the computer for some time, to hold this value in the memory of the computer? In that case, we have to create a memory space for this numerical value and hold it there. Suppose you are using an application package like MATLAB and you want to store a numerical value in the memory of a computer, then all you have to do is to assign this value to a variable. For example, say x equals 3. And the variable x is assigned the value 3. Now suppose you want to store the value 2 in y, then all you have to do is put y equals 2. And if you want to find the product of these two numbers, then x into y is 6. It is as simple as that. Now in the case of C++ in CodeBlocks, it is an altogether different story. Because suppose I want to do something like x equals 3, I build it here, I immediately get an error. You can see here the compiler is telling me that x was not declared. So the point is that the compiler is not familiar with this variable x. So what I will do right now, I will put an int here. To know what int is, we have to go to Datatypes. That we will do later, but for the time being I put int x equals 3 and I build. Now you can see there are no errors, 0 errors. But of course there is a warning because I have not done anything with this variable x, which is why it is giving me that warning. So right now I will do something with that variable. I will print that value of x on screen using a cout statement. Cout, of course, an insertion operator. So this part will put the string x equals on screen, then again the insertion operator, and then this part will print the value of x on screen, and then I will put an end line. So now I have introduced the variable to the compiler with a declaration int x, and so now the compiler knows what x is. Then I have used a cout statement to put it on screen. Okay, so I will build and then I will run this program. Now you can see here on the screen the output of the program x equals 3. The value 3 is given to x using an assignment statement x equals 3 or something called an initialization. Now another way to do the same thing is to use the cin statement. Then I shall remove this x equals 3 and type cin. Of course, that is the extraction operator. Now I shall build and of course there are no errors and run. You can see the cursor blinking on screen. It is waiting for an input from the keyboard because we had keyed in a cin statement. So now I will give a value from the keyboard and that value will be assigned to the variable x. So suppose I am giving 5, then the value 5 is accepted as the value of the variable x, and then it is printed on screen using the next statement, the cout statement x equals 5. To make the documentation part more clear, I can design the program in such a way that the question comes on screen to enter value of x. So I will type cout within a string enter value of x. I am closing the string. I'll put a capital E here, and of course I am going to build and run. And now you can see the output on screen. It is waiting for the value of x just beside the string. So I will give the value 6 and you can see the output on screen x equals 6. We have learned how to perform input and output operations in C++ in CodeBlocks IDE. Here we have the cout statement which is used to send something on screen and the cin which is used to accept inputs from the keyboard. Before we conclude, a little more about data types. Int, we have already seen, it is used to hold whole number values, say 3 or 5, whatever. Now float is the type used to hold real numbers or numbers with a decimal part. Then we have the double, which of course holds even larger real numbers or more accurate real numbers. Then we have the character, which is used to hold letters and so on. Then we have bool for performing Boolean algebra. It can hold only two values, 0 and 1. Then we have the void, which is meant to hold nothing. Of course, holding nothing is something very important in C++, which we will see later when we discuss functions. Why are these data types important? First of all, we saw that if a variable like x is not declared, of course there will be an error. Besides that, suppose I will show a run of this program. I shall build and run, and you can see in the output it is expecting a value for x, and I am going to enter a value 3.14, and let us see what the output is. It is returning a value x equals 3. Now the point is that x was declared as an integer, and integer can hold only whole number values or integer values. and when I try to enter 3.14, which has a decimal part, to x, that part, the decimal part, has not been accepted by the processor. So data types are important in the sense that once a variable is declared to be of a particular type, only that type can be entered in that variable. Now I shall tweak this program and make this x a float, and then I shall build this program and run. Let us go to the output window. Now again the cursor is waiting for the value. I am entering 3.14 and you can see the output is 3.14. So when I changed x from integer to float, things are perfect. Before we conclude, I shall make one more change to this variable x. I shall make it a character, char, and I shall build and run, and we shall see the output window. And as a value for the variable x, I am entering a letter t, and you can see that the output has come on x equals t. So now my point is that x, the variable, has accepted a character t as its value. This is possible because we declared as the type for x the data type character. Now we have seen the different data types in C++. We have discussed the importance of these types. We also know how a wrong data type can ruin a program. We have also seen how variables are used to store data. However, when we have larger amounts of data, we have to adopt more efficient practices. In the next session, we will discuss how arrays are used to store data. Thank you.